From our vantage point, we're saying the American pie chart is not proportional.
Unprecedented access to capital and resources and people is so powerful and is so needed.
Black ambition is a vessel to bring that uninterrupted feeling and spread it across based on the opportunity that has come our way.
What keeps us going is knowing that we can't stop now.
It's ambition at its core, and it's creating environments where Black and Latinx founders are never interrupted again.
It's an infrastructure that allows entrepreneurs to learn via mentorship or to grow via the mechanics of Black ambition.
What ignited your entrepreneurial spark?
My dad's been an entrepreneur for most of my life. He owns a construction company. It wasn't the best entry point to entrepreneurship because I just knew that he worked really long hours and he would come home dirty every day. I'm the beneficiary of everything that him being an entrepreneur and stepping out on faith afforded our family. I would say the other part of that is I wasn't one of those kids that sold lemonade or started a business at a young age, but I sold the heck out of some Girl Scout cookies. And I realized that I could get my mom to sell the cookies for me in the office that she was in. It was those two things. And then I would say that the last part is just the responsibility that we have when we have certain gifts to be able to build something and put things out into the world that ultimately benefit other people. And those have been some of the guiding lights of nurturing my entrepreneurial career.
In my culture, it was very much about learning and consuming and being sort of passionately a fan of objects and things. That ultimately changed the moment that I sort of looked at what I was consuming and thought, maybe I have an opinion on that too. I'm not relegated to this position of consuming. The way that I was putting things together and thinking about things and the passion behind that drove me to sort of do this leap. Then I realized, that this entrepreneurial sort of moment is possible. And with Black ambition, the idea is to transport those self-learnings into opportunities. That same moment is transferable to all.
What drove me to become an entrepreneur was just unbridled passion and ambition for things that I felt like needed to exist. Nothing's been able to blow that flame out for me. And I'm so grateful that along the way I've met the right people to put into position to make these things actually work and come to fruition, like Black ambition. It needed to exist.
What is Black ambition's approach to providing access, and why will it create change?
From our vantage point, we're saying the American pie chart is not proportional, at least in a fair way. And we have to forge some protection for our ideas and our concepts, because that's what keeps our spirit alive.
Absolutely. And it's never been for a lack of ideas in our communities, right? That has never been the problem, although that has sometimes been the notion. We have ideas, we've been builders, we've built things, we've literally built this country. So that's not it. It's been the lack of the respectable amount of funding, and then the disconnection to resources, especially in this innovation economy that we're in. Unprecedented access to capital and resources and people is so powerful and is so needed, right? Because that is the differentiator between someone with a really great idea and the idea actually being able to get off the ground and into the market. That is what is different about Black ambition. It's that unprecedented access that we're not gonna let anything get in the way of you getting the connections that you need to build the thing that is going to shape the future, which is really, really powerful.
What makes Black ambition unique for me is obviously we're coming off of the ledge that is, 2020, that breaking point. I feel that this younger generation is bright-eyed and wants the world to change. They have these devices in their hands that allow their impact to sort of transcend boundaries and borders. So for me, what's important is fusing this ambition with an identity. And that's what we're doing with Black ambition. It's fusing this moment into the DNA of how we show up and how icons in different spaces can bridge together to support young talent.
How is Black Ambition decoding the encoded?
Mentorship is the best scaffolding one can have when trying to build a business. Real humans in real time, in real life, giving you advice, sharing their past experiences, what did and did not work for them, no matter how different your concept is for your business. When we're talking amongst ourselves, like our peers, we often refer to them as the codes.
Yeah.
You know, share the codes. It's like playing like video games with your friends in your teenage years. Like there were certain combinations, there were codes
Up, down,
that
up, down.
would
Right, left,
help.
right, left.
Yeah, that would like unlock like, you know, next steps for things that you were trying to do. And that is what we want to do. We want to make that as equitable as we do the opportunity to start a business. Starting a business is one thing, but having access to the codes is a game changer.
You hit it right on the head, right? Like there are these dreams, or the American pie chart that you talked about. It's just like all you have to do is like go to school, come up with an idea, and you'll be good. And then you have entrepreneurs like, well, I did everything that you told me to do. It's like, no, you didn't tell me what I really needed to do, right? That there are closed off rooms and closed off systems that you have to figure out how to penetrate. And sometimes you can only do that through the relationship of a mentor, right? I think one of the things around all of this that gets me so upset, but that we're baking into Black Ambition, is people are just like, you just need a seat at the table. I'm like, well, what table? So that I'm not wasting my time as an entrepreneur. Tell us the right tables that we need to be at, or how to build the right table in order to move things along. So it is that, right? And then it's the capital. You know, entrepreneurs need money. And yes, venture is one part of that, but there's all these alternative sources of capital that they can tap into to fuel their business and move that forward. And we're helping them and training them through the Circles program to be able to do so and tap into that funding as well. Those two things in tandem is what makes Black Ambition different. It's realizing that, it's being honest that those things exist, and then being unapologetic about making sure that we create the access and those aren't issues moving forward.
Perfectly said. That dovetails in exactly my personal ambition within Black Ambition is the grassroots. That's why I'm focused a lot about the mentorship. Because as you said, it's like which table, which one to be at. There's also like a category of work to be done to sort of shift the mentality that we can be startups. You know, we can start up through our ambition, through our value, achieve a certain point through exactly as Pharrell said, you know, free game with the codes. That shift in mentality via Black Ambition will just change the framework of what startups look like.
What inspired the creative vision and design for Black Ambition?
I'll never forget the moment when Pharrell called with this idea. The way to sort of manifest the frustrations of 2020 was to launch a brand, right? And a brand to combat the inequity. We just had a conversation basically about the strength of the color black, and also the cosmic idea of black, you know, of light, you know, just pure physics is what he was mentioning about, you know, the absorption of light, the fragments of light, and out of that, the identity sort of flourished.
I don't know if the both of you saw or have watched Lovecraft Country.
Yes.
Okay, so Christina asked Ruby a really important question that was the epitome of Black Ambition for me when I experienced and when I saw it coming together. And she asked her, "Who are you uninterrupted?" And when I heard that question, I literally sat back in my seat because I was like, man, that's a really big, bold question. But more importantly, I think when we're thinking about Black and Latinx entrepreneurs, it's like, who are they uninterrupted? Like, if nothing ever stood in the way of them building their companies, actualizing their dreams, what would it look like? And to me, that is the epitome of Black Ambition, is like building that environment where whatever stood in the way for them before, or whatever interrupted them will never interrupt them again, is what I feel the weight of what we're all building. And really the moment of you guys having the idea that went to the design component, to the mission of it, is that, right? It's ambition at its core, and it's creating environments where Black and Latinx founders are never interrupted again.
The leader.
What a leader.
Leader of the new school. Pharrell and I, and we operate from a place of self-generated privilege. You know, we're conscious of that. Black ambition is a vessel to bring that uninterrupted feeling, that anti-gravity feeling, and spread it across based on our findings, you know, based on the rooms that we've been in, based on the opportunity that has come our way. It's literally codes, and it's a system, it's an infrastructure that allows entrepreneurs to learn via mentorship or to grow, you know, via the mechanics of Black ambition.
What would you say to someone about to take the first step on their entrepreneurial journey?
I always say to someone who talks about new businesses or new ventures, say, look, you know, what is something that you would do 24/7, never get tired of? You love it so much that as long as your bills were paid and you didn't have a cent over, you still had a good life. If it's something that you cannot wait to get off on a Tuesday, it's not your job. If it's something that like people get annoyed because you're the one that's still in the office 10 o'clock on a Friday night, this is the right thing for you. That's the first thing. The second thing is there a way to service other people with this job? In other words, is it enriching somebody else's experiences or life in any kind of way, shape, or form? And if it does, you essentially have a dream job and you'll never work a day in your life. You'll just say, man, I just keep getting paid for doing something that I would do for free. But none of that happens if there's not inventory taken on who and what you are.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing to me in this lifetime, not just in business. Because when you know what your shortfalls are, then you know who you need to be looking for to help you. When you know what you're really good at something, then you know how far you can take something, how that's gonna affect, you know, your goal.
I agree. Self-assessment is extremely important. Stillness and time of reflection for entrepreneurs is extremely important. Something that you said brought up like zone of genius, like tap into your zone of genius. Like what are you the best in the world at? And then like do more of that.
Yes.
And then it's questions, right? Tony Robbins famously said the quality of your questions determine the quality of your life. I think one of the best things that you can do as an entrepreneur is ask really rich and deep questions of yourself. And then of the people around you so that you can use that insight to inform your next best move. Those are all have been like resounding messages in Black Ambition's program so far and have really guided it and will guide it moving forward.
That nails it perfectly.
Right?
It really does.
What gives you optimism when you look at the next generation of entrepreneurs?
My optimism towards the future is rooted in this generation. You know, like something's happened with the advent of the internet and social media that puts power of their destiny in their hand. For me, my excitement comes from just sort of lighting a match and sparking that and fostering it and making it commonplace for this type of engagement to exist, this exact type of conversation to exist. You know, I think that we're at the cusp of seeing how this bright-eyed generation takes an understanding of these systems that are being sort of eroded and replaces them with better systems that empower themselves and our world. My optimism is linked to the current generation and the resources that are at its fingertips.
I am so excited about that generation taking over the ranks. And I think the world is going to be in a better place because of it.
50 years from now, what will be the impact of Black Ambition?
I'd hope to see, specifically for Black Ambition, that by that time, the world will be in a much more equitable place for people of color, Black and Latinx human beings, right? 'Cause regardless of how they identify, there's just been like too much of a disparity and discrimination.
The one sort of premise that I would bookend onto Pharrell's statements is that in my generation, the the people that I looked up to were crafting their iconography sort of insularly, you know. And what I love is that with Black Ambition, Pharrell and I are becoming the change we want to see in iconography, you know, within pop culture, within personas that have sort of notoriety in their spaces. What we're doing is fusing a mission statement of changing the world to our practice. So it's not only the cause and effects that I hope to see, I also hope to see a change in the cause. I hope to see a change in how people can show up and build a practice, but also infuse into the DNA of that practice.
Yeah. I'm in line with both of you. You know, I think on one end, 50 years from now, as a result of what we're building, there'll be more support for everyone's different lived experiences. But I think big and bold, I would also hope that 50 years from now, as a result of the work we're doing, that Black Ambition doesn't have to exist. As it relates to the mission, right, of dismantling the racist systems that have stopped Black and Latinx founders from being able to build what they're building full out.
This feels so powerful, I will say.
Agreed.
It is. It's a powerful moment, you know.
Yeah.
Joe Madison always says the difference between a moment and a movement is sacrifice. And I think we've sacrificed enough in these two communities, Black and Latinx, that now it's the movement of what happens moving forward. How do we create spaces for Black and Latinx founders that are uninterrupted, so that this is not just long lasting, but the impact, it comes back to community, you know? And so it is powerful. It has to be powerful because power is what moves things forward.
Worded perfectly.
Agreed.